cab pulled up to a grand estate, its spires reaching into the overcast sky of a drizzly afternoon. Olivia Carter fidgeted with the collar of her gown, the only formal attire she owned, a present from her late grandmother, Margaret, for her nursing school graduation just months before her passing. Memories of her grandmother dimmed Olivia's eyes. It had been only 10 days since the memorial, yet the grief lingered, as vivid as the blossoms still bright on Margaret's grave. At 20, Olivia was now on her own, with barely enough savings to cover a month's rent. $30, miss, the driver's voice snapped her back to reality. She paid with carefully counted bills, each one tallied the previous evening. She couldn't spare a single penny. The job posting had seemed almost too perfect. They needed a personal aide. No prior experience necessary. Competitive pay. Her worn shoes squished in the rain as she neared the entrance. A butler with a stern expression met her, his appraising gaze heightening her awareness of her plain dress and simply pinned hair. "Miss Olivia Carter, I presume," he said, his tone courteous but reserved. "Mr. Nathaniel Brooks is expecting you in his office." Her footsteps echoed faintly on the polished stone floor as she trailed him through an opulent hallway, its walls lined with artwork worth more than her entire existence. Each step made her feel like a misplaced chord in a flawless melody. The office was expansive, with towering bookshelves and broad windows framing the city's skyline. But it wasn't the grandeur that struck Olivia. It was the man by the window. Nathaniel Brooks turned as she entered. At 47, his commanding presence seemed to shift the very air. His tailored navy suit couldn't mask the strain in his posture, as if he bore an unseen weight. "Please sit," he said, his voice deep and tinged with an emotion Olivia couldn't place. She perched on the edge of a leather chair, her hands clasped to steady their shaking. His piercing blue eyes studied her with unsettling focus. "Your resume is compelling," he said, glancing at a document. "Recent graduate from St. Clair's Nursing Academy. No professional experience. Orphan." He paused. "Why are you here, Miss Carter?" The question caught her off guard. She'd anticipated inquiries about her qualifications, not this. "I need work, Mr. Brooks," she replied candidly. "My grandmother, she passed recently. She was my whole world." Her voice wavered. Something softened in his demeanor, making him seem almost approachable. "I'm sorry," he said quietly, then swiftly regained his composure. "But you haven't answered my question. Why this position?" Olivia inhaled deeply. "Because the ad said no experience was needed. Because it's the only opportunity I've found after countless rejections. And because something told me this is where I belong." A faint smile curved Nathaniel's lips. He stepped closer, his movements deliberate. "Do you know what I'm truly seeking, Miss Carter?" She shook her head, sensing a quiet intensity between them. "I'm not after a professional," he said, his voice softer yet heavy with meaning. "I'm looking for someone to remind me what it means to feel alive, even if just for a moment. His words rippled through her like a stone dropped in still water. "I don't follow," she stammered. "It's straightforward," he said, leaning against the desk, close enough for her to catch the faint scent of his cologne. "I'm offering a contract. You'd live here, accompany me to events as my partner, and serve as my aide in title. In exchange, you'd receive a substantial salary, a new wardrobe, education if you desire, and a chance to transform my life." Olivia stood abruptly, her legs unsteady. "Are you proposing that I'm asking you to help me find meaning," Nathaniel interrupted, his voice raw with vulnerability. "Not a fleeting thrill, Miss Carter. I seek authenticity, purity, something genuine in a world of pretense." The rain pounded harder against the windows, mirroring the tension in the room. Olivia felt her reality shift, unraveling her certainties. "Perhaps," she whispered. Nathaniel stepped closer, but didn't touch her. "When you walked in, I saw something I thought was gone forever. Possibility. Your eyes held a spark my heart lost long ago," he continued. Olivia stepped back, her thoughts a tangle of conflicting feelings. Her grandmother's final words echoed, "Life will surprise you, my dear. The trick is discerning which roads lead to fate and which to nowhere." "I'm not who you need," she said, her voice steadier than her heart. "I'm just a young woman, as you said. I've never known love, and I'm not something you can purchase." To her surprise, Nathaniel smiled, a warm, genuine smile that lit up his face. "That's precisely why it must be you," he said, turning to the window. "I don't want to buy your spirit, Miss Carter. I want you to share it. I want to see the world through your lens, to know that goodness still exists in a cynical age." A lightning flash illuminated his solitary silhouette. "Take a day to decide. The contract is on the desk, along with my card. If you accept, call me. If not," he gestured lightly, "we'll act as if this never happened." Olivia gathered the papers with trembling hands. The contract was heavy, luxurious, like everything in the estate, but the simple business card, his name, and a number drew her eye. "If I call," she said slowly, nearing the door, "there's no going back." "I'm not playing games," he replied. "I'm seeking a transformation." In the cab ride home, Olivia stared at the folder in her lap. The contract offered security, stability, everything she desperately needed. But its cost was the one thing she still possessed, herself. Her first week at the Brooks estate passed like a dream. Her cramped apartment and constant financial worries faded into memory. In their place was a bedroom larger than any home she'd known. Her wardrobe, once 3 threadbare dresses, now overflowed with elegant outfits that appeared daily, as if by magic. But it wasn't the luxury that kept her awake, staring at the intricate ceiling. It was Nathaniel Brooks, the enigmatic figure in a gilded world, always near, yet somehow distant. Each morning, she found him in the dining room, half hidden by the business section of the newspaper. Breakfast arrived precisely at 7:30 a.m. A parade of lavish dishes she barely tasted, too absorbed by the man across from her. "Good morning." His voice emerged from behind the paper, calm and measured. "Good morning, Mr. Brooks," she replied, settling into her seat. He lowered the paper, his sharp features unyielding, yet his eyes seemed to pierce through her carefully maintained composure. "Sleep well?" he asked, though the shadows under her eyes betrayed the truth. "Yes, thank you," she fibbed, focusing on her coffee. The silence stretched, heavy but oddly comforting. How can we share so much quiet and not feel stifled? She wondered. Perhaps because each pause held 1,000 unspoken thoughts, questions neither dared voice. "There's a board meeting today," Nathaniel said, breaking the stillness. "I need you to take notes and observe. Speak only if I prompt you." Olivia nodded, grateful for a task to anchor her. Over the past days, she'd come to see Nathaniel as a demanding yet patient mentor. He explained business intricacies with surprising care, a stark contrast to his reserved demeanor. The meeting unfolded on the 45th floor of a sleek skyscraper. Olivia watched Nathaniel transform. His already striking presence became almost otherworldly. He commanded the room like a maestro, every word and gesture precise. But at lunch afterward, a director's comment cracked his polished facade. "My wife passed 3 years ago," the man said. "I know your solitude, Nathaniel. Perhaps you should consider." "I don't need your input on my personal matters, David," Nathaniel cut in, his tone soft but final. Olivia noticed his hand tighten around his glass, knuckles whitening. In the limousine afterward, the silence was denser, weighted with unspoken pain. Olivia found the courage to meet his gaze. Nathaniel stared out the window, his face etched in the dimming light. For a moment, he seemed the most isolated man she'd ever known. "Sometimes," she murmured, "silence hurts more than words." He turned, startled. "What do you know of pain, Olivia?" His tone held no mockery, only curiosity. "I know it takes many forms," she said, thinking of her grandmother. "And the deepest is often the kind we keep hidden." His expression shifted, like a veil slipping. "You're perceptive," he said softly. "You see too much." That evening, instead of retreating to his office, Nathaniel invited her to the rooftop. The night air was crisp, stirring the neatly trimmed planters. Stars glittered above, and beyond the railing, the city's horizon glowed, serene and dreamlike. Olivia stood at the edge, her fingers grazing the cool stone, simply present. "My wife passed 8 years ago," Nathaniel said, his voice barely above the breeze. "No accident, no grand tragedy. She just faded, as if life chose to leave her." Olivia stayed quiet, sensing the fragility of the moment. "Since then," he continued, his gaze fixed on the distance, "I've built companies, amassed wealth, dominated industries, but I've felt nothing true." He turned to her, his face unguarded for the first time. "That's why I brought you here, Olivia. When you stepped into my office, I felt something. Maybe hope, maybe just intrigue, but it was real. The week before the Brooks Foundation's annual gala, the estate hummed with activity. Staff murmured in the halls, rooms gleamed with polish, and fresh lilies arrived daily. But for Olivia, it wasn't the event that stole her rest. It was Nathaniel's silent, searching gazes. That afternoon, a navy silk dress lay on her bed, understated yet stunning. Beside it, a note. Tonight, 8 p.m., when Olivia emerged in the dress, she didn't expect Nathaniel to be waiting. He stilled, his usual composure faltering. "I need help with this," she said, holding up a delicate silver necklace. He stepped closer, his fingers brushing her neck as he fastened it. Her breath caught as he whispered, "Flawless." The gala unfolded at the city's grandest hotel. As they entered, Nathaniel's hand rested lightly on her lower back, a subtle but protective gesture. All eyes turned to them. Olivia felt the stares, the whispers behind crystal flutes. A silver-haired man approached, his smile devoid of warmth. "Nathaniel, it's been too long. And this lovely lady is Olivia Carter," Nathaniel said smoothly. "My personal aide, a top graduate, and a rising star in strategic planning." Olivia blinked. The exaggeration was bold, but his tone was unwavering. He was shielding her. All evening, she shadowed him through conversations and clinking glasses. Yet each time he glanced at her, his gaze softened, as if she grounded him in a sea of artifice. When the orchestra struck up a waltz, he leaned close. "Dance with me." It was neither a command nor a question, but a gentle invitation. Olivia took his hand. On the dance floor, the world dissolved. His touch was steady, their steps fluid, as if they danced together forever. "They're all watching," she whispered. "Let them," he replied, drawing her nearer. "Let them see what I see." "And what do you see?" she asked. He held her gaze. Radiance, truth. The music shifted, but they kept swaying, the crowd forgotten, only their shared rhythm remaining. Nathaniel's heartbeat pressed against her, blending with her own. Abruptly, he stopped. "Let's step outside," he said. "I can't keep pretending this is just an agreement." On the hotel's rooftop, the air was cool, a respite from the gala's warmth. The city sparkled below, a tapestry of lights under a starry dome. "When Sarah died," Nathaniel began, "I vowed nothing would matter again." It felt safer, simpler. Olivia listened, sensing the boundary he was crossing. "Then you came," he said, facing her, "with your honesty, your clarity, those eyes that see everything. Now, I can't recall why I thought feeling nothing was better." "I'm scared," Olivia admitted, using his first name, "scared of trying and failing." He stepped closer, his hands cradling her face with care. "I'm scared, too scared of not trying." The world seemed to pause as they leaned in, but just before their lips met, Nathaniel hesitated. "If we do this," he whispered, "it can't be because of a contract or duty. It must be true." Olivia touched his brow, tracing a line of worry. "It's been true from the start," she said. "When I saw you in that office, strong yet wounded, it was already real." Rain began to fall, soft as a lullaby, but they stood still. Drops mingled with the unshed tears in Nathaniel's eyes. "Come home," he murmured. "Come home with me." In the car, they rode in silence, but it was a warm, necessary quiet, a space where two souls drew closer. At the estate, Olivia started for the stairs, but Nathaniel gently caught her hand. "You're free to go," he said, his eyes calm, expecting nothing. She looked at him, then said, "I'm staying not because I have to, but because I want to." In the living room, the fireplace glowed, casting golden flickers across their skin. No words were needed, just a lingering glance that spoke volumes. Nathaniel lifted her chin with careful fingers. "If you ever want to stop," he whispered. "I don't," she replied, her voice a breath. He shed his jacket, then slowly unbuttoned his shirt, each movement cautious, as if guarding the moment's fragility. When the fabric fell, Olivia saw a faint scar across his chest. She reached out, her fingers tracing it reverently. "My heart broke literally," he murmured. "Surgery after Sarah's death." Olivia leaned in, pressing a gentle kiss to the scar, as if mending both body and spirit. "Let me help you heal," she whispered, as they lay together. Each touch was tender, unhurried, a weaving of trust, forgiveness, and renewal. She was no longer the girl bound by a contract. He was no longer the man seeking escape. That night, two fractured souls met, free of pretense, bound only by love. Afterward, no vows were spoken, no labels assigned, but a shift was undeniable. Nathaniel no longer held himself apart. Mornings found him at the breakfast table, the newspaper set aside, his eyes meeting hers as if to affirm her presence. Olivia began studying business at his suggestion. "If you're to stand with me, you should know my world." She pored over reports, charts, and terms, not to prove herself, but to claim a future beyond her past. By day, she sat beside him in his office, noting calls, offering insights. One day, she spotted an error in a report. "This doesn't add up," she said. He smiled. "You're sharper than most of my team." At night, they strolled the garden, hands linked. One evening, she tucked a note in his book. "You are my morning light." One morning, she found him in the kitchen, dusted with flour, wrestling with a skillet of pancakes. "I wanted to make you breakfast," he said sheepishly. The pancakes were charred, but Olivia laughed, wrapping her arms around him. "Perfect," she whispered, "because it's from you." Their bond grew in quiet moments, shared meals, garden walks, silent evenings by the fire. They didn't name it love, but it bloomed in every glance, every touch. Nathaniel softened, his smiles more frequent, his movements lighter. One afternoon, Olivia caught him watching her in the library, as if memorizing her reality. One evening, he said, "You should study formally. Learn my world if you want to stay." She dove in, mastering concepts, analyzing data. One day, she flagged a discrepancy in a project. Nathaniel's eyes lit with pride. "You're remarkable," he said. The limousine turned onto a quiet street lined with oaks. Olivia frowned, this wasn't their usual upscale dining spot. Stepping out, she saw a modest sign. Vita Bella. My parents met here, Nathaniel said, smiling softly. It's where my father proposed. Inside, the restaurant was empty save for a single table, aglow with candles and white roses. A violinist played their gala waltz. Olivia's heart knew before her mind caught up. Over dinner, Nathaniel spoke of his mother, a gentle woman who believed love thrived in steady, quiet devotion. After dessert, he stood, crossed to her, and knelt. Olivia Carter, he said, opening a velvet box. This ring was my grandmother's, then my mother's. It's simple, not dazzling, but it's carried love through generations. The gold band held a small sapphire. I'm not proposing out of fear of losing you. I'm proposing because every day with you makes me a better man. Tears slid down Olivia's cheeks. Yes, she whispered. Weeks later, they wed in the estate's garden simple, with soft lights, white blooms, and a piano playing Nathaniel's composition for her. Before their closest friends, he tore up the old contract. Today, he said, we choose each other, no terms, just love. They exchanged rings, vows, and a kiss heavy with unspoken promises. I choose you, they said, every day, not from obligation, but love. As they kissed, their heartbeats merged, no longer solitary. In that quiet, they found all they'd sought, a love unspoken yet profound, rooted in the steady rhythm of their shared days, enduring, unbreakable, forever theirs.